So this is the time pattern. So time 0 in the middle of the scale is the end of the diagnostic phase, the 1 month. There are 3 lines there. The red one along the bottom are the plants where we didn't gather performance data and didn't give them any support of any kind. The middling line, the one that starts out in the same place and shoots up, is the treatment line. Those are the firms that got the heavy-duty consulting. And what we're recording there is the increase in the number of these practices that they do. And so you can see it's very rapid uptake, but a concave shape to it. The third line that crosses the one that rises rapidly is the control group, the ones who got told what they should do but didn't get help in doing it. That one starts higher because the best managed firm by far is one of the control firms. But you can see that they figured out some things to do themselves without help too. But not nearly as much as the treatment plants. So it used to be that because of the poor quality, they were spending 20% of their wage bill on repairs, trying to repair flaws in the cloth or clean it up or cut it out or whatever. And they still had a lot of bad cloth that could only be sold for very low prices. They used to, this is how they used to keep defects logs. They were really only kept all you can see is that they're handwritten and disorganized. And the only reason they kept them was because if a customer came back complaining about quality and defects, they wanted to have some record so they could argue with them. Well, now it's all standardized. They're nice spreadsheets. It's entered into computers. It can be analyzed by Loom, by Shift, by Design, by Weaver. It's now collated and analyzed in daily meetings. And here, I've got regressions, but I think this tells the story better than anything. The red line, so we're looking at the quality defects index, which is, it's an index of how bad the quality is. So a higher number is worse. And the red line is the control plants, the ones that didn't get get the heavy consulting, and on average didn't take up as many of the management practices. The vertical line, the first left-hand vertical line, is the start of the diagnostic period, and you can see that basically nothing happens. Their quality improves a little maybe, but not much. That line is, if you ran a regression, that would be a straight line. The black line is the quality index in the treatment plants, and it improves a lot. It goes from 100 and about 100 at the takeover at the start of the period. It's down to 40. So a significant improvement in quality. We did an outcome versus management regressions, bootstrapped, et cetera, I won't. And we did it with instrumental variables with the instrument because of endogeneity concerns that maybe the firms that took up the practices were the ones that knew they had quality problems or whatever. So we ran an instrumental variable just using the time since the intervention as our instrument. We also did an intention to treat that's, and all of them come out very significant. You know, papers with 3 stars up there are a big deal. I'm not an empiricist, but I know 3 stars is a good thing. Inventory, same story. We've got them now. They keep track of their inventory. It's in waterproof bags. It's tagged. And they've, as a result, and they have, when they've got leftover inventory, they put the yarn on a piece of, on little piece of paper and send it to the design people so they know what they could design that would use the existing stock rather than having to buy new stock. Before, they were carrying like an average of 18 months worth of raw material because they really didn't know what was there, and they'd just order more and so on. So again, the red line is the control plants. Inventory doesn't move much. Black line is the treatment plants. Inventory moves down quite considerably. In both, it starts creeping up after 30 weeks in reflection of seasonal elements. And again, lots of 3 stars. Output, we brought in some basic, very simple things like if there's something wrong with your machine, put a tag on it so that the repair people know to do something about it, rather than just going home for the night and leaving it. They sorted out all their parts and spares and whatnot. Instead of the rough handwritten loose pieces of paper that it's all standardized. No fun at all, and again, 3 stars. So significant, not as breathtaking, but significant improvements in the productivity, the fraction of the time the machines are running. So we estimate, and I can tell you how we did the estimation, we estimate we increased profit by about $322,000 per year per company. Now, these are companies that are selling about $7.5 million worth of output sales. So this is, what, almost 5% of sales, is it roughly? The way we come up with our lowest estimate of what this is a 16.8% change. And that comes from applying the cost, the 15% that they pay to the bank when they invest to the value of their capital stock, and that gives you one number that might be their profitability. Productivity increased about 10%, and we would expect much larger long-run impact because there's been basically no change in their business mix, no change in their capital stock, no change in their inputs or outputs. They haven't changed them. But there's also a chance of slippage. One of the things we're interested in is whether they'll keep doing it when we go away. So we're going to go away and then come back after a year and see if it's hung on. Decentralization in IT. This is stuff we've just started doing. Other research has found that firms in developing countries are typically very centralized. And it's usually the case that the owner is making all the important decisions, any decision with any financial impact, because they don't trust outsiders. They're afraid if they let the hired manager, for example, purchase inventory, he'll buy it from his brother-in-law, pay twice as much as he should, and share the gains with his brother-in-law. So it's hard because the rule of law is not that great. I mean, Indian courts are jammed up so badly that you can't really count on the law to punish somebody like that. And what's more, they haven't got the information to know if they're being cheated. Remember, they weren't collecting this data, so they didn't really know if they were being cheated. So that means that they tend to make all the decisions themselves, the top management.